have a panel discussion for you talking about scaling AI from going from pilots into enterprise workflows, and we're really excited to do that. From a perspective of time, we're going to go probably 35 minutes with Q&A and then open it up to you all. At the end of the session, there's a 30-minute break. We will have a Slido up here that we're going to ask you to please fill out. We are trying to capture some analytics that we can feed back to you. But in order to talk about this topic, and by the way, I'm John Woolman. I'm head of revenue strategy here at Komodo Health. I've been with the company for 5 years, but I've been in life sciences and healthcare data, technology, or consulting for about 39 years. And we have this great panel today. We have Arinda Mukherjee, who's here from Ipsen, and we have Scott Ogden, who's here from Genmab. And we're going to get right into it. So please, if you guys wouldn't mind, if you could tell me a little bit about yourselves, about your role at your company, and where you are in your AI journey. So why don't we start with you, Arinda?
Absolutely. Thanks, John, for the introduction of the session. Arinda Mukherjee from Ipsen Biopharmaceutical. People who don't know about Ipsen, it's a French biopharmaceutical company, and we specialize in 3 broad therapeutic areas, starting with oncology and rare disease, and the neuroscience. My role is I'm the head of data strategy and operations in Ipsen. AI being one of the big buzzwords in the industry.
Obviously, I hadn't heard that. Is that people talking about that? Small one.
Yeah. We are in Ipsen also, we are taking strides in it. We are doing a pilot project with AI. And the project is not that it's for the sake of doing AI. The project is to solve a problem, and the problem for a particular brand. So for a particular brand, as we are in the rare disease, patients are some of the times, I would say, the patients go misdiagnosed and undiagnosed in this rare disease area. So we are using AI to identify the HCPs treating those patients and educating them in the right fashion so that we can help and change patients' life. So that's where we are. It's in the pilot phase of the work. We are using a large language model on the data, but we'll talk more about those projects as we go.
Wonderful. And Scott?
Yeah. Scott from Genmab, and Genmab is a Danish biopharma focusing on oncology. And we're on this scaling journey of bringing our own medicines to patients. I started in commercial back when commercial was very small, and now I lead an enterprise AI function, so from R&D to development, enabling functions and commercial. And where are we in the journey? I think right in the middle of it, in the scaling curve, right? I think making significant investments in the data and cloud platform strategy to make sure there are one sources of truth, there are one-ish way of doing things, so that you can appreciate the benefit of the scale. But I actually think that this technology wave we're in is not the change is an organizational one, not a technical one, and our playbooks from technology are usually focused towards implementing technology and training people on the technology, and it's a little bit inverted here, where often the business folks are leading IT on what is the promise. So that's just something I always come back to, and so that kind of colors where we are in our journey.
It's nice when things are being pulled instead of you have to push a new technology.
Please use this, yeah.
Speaking of which, I always like to open up with a joke. So this morning I asked Claude, I said, hey, Claude, tell me something funny about the U.S. healthcare system. And Claude said, there's nothing funny about the U.S. healthcare system. Let's get into the topic real deep here now. And we believe, and we're convinced that evolving an AI program or a set of AI programs from being pilots to being true enterprise workflow enabled agentic capabilities requires a lot of things, and it's not just LLMs and agents. You kind of need to have governed prompts. You need to have really clear definition of your workflow logic. You need to have reliable orchestration to make sure that these agents can talk to each other. So I'm really interested in how are you taking the facets like those or whatever else you think is germane to the scale up and tie it to where that is in your journey. And maybe I'll start with you this time, Scott.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's thinking a lot about what the primitives are and what primitives will stay. Like prompts, I don't know. Like I think folks including maybe us too, 3 years ago, rushed to build prompt libraries and RAGs and stuff like this. And now that's not so much the case with a frontier product like Claude Code or Codex. Doesn't necessarily need that anymore. So the primitives I think about building for scale and for reproducibility and things like this they're actually called skills and data connectors. And if you get those two things right, you can scale effectively. So skills are just fundamentally a way of teaching like a Claude or Gemini or whatever how to do something that only your company knows how to do or only your function knows how to do, and have it be able to reproduce that in a semi-cogent way, right? Another benefit of this is that unlike humans or consulting, sometimes getting that governed workflow, you can actually ask Claude to do the task 20 times and see if it converges on the answer. And that way, you can show reproducibility. You can show this like getting a governed workflow. And the other point I'll make is about really prioritizing what your use cases are and getting that buy-in from the top down to middle management to the people working on the AI systems themselves, and not going in so many different directions that it's hard to capture and codify and scale. I think that was a mistake we made at first, is going really big and then having to really prioritize and think about what matters.
Great, thank you very much. And Arindam, same question.
Yeah, so how I do it is, it's a journey. And the journey, I put it in 6 steps. Starting with the question that what is the problem we're trying to solve? Identify a particular problem area which the company has, or a particular brand has, or a particular therapeutic area has, and then try to go backward from that and see that step 2 is what data will solve that problem. What source of data we need to solve that problem? That's your second step.
Of course, you need Komodo for that, right?
Yeah. The third thing is that now you have the data, to John's question, Komodo data. So now you have the data, you know the source, and what kind of Komodo data? Is it the claims? Is it the EHR? Is it something else? Is it the lab? So everything is dependent on your use case or the problem you're trying to solve. The third is that now you know the problem, you know that what data you need, you know the source, how you want to use that data. Are you going to put an LLM model, an AI, to generate some alerts? Or you want to do advanced analytics on top of it, do research on it? So third is that step. The fourth is that now you did all the first 3 steps right. How you want to deploy it? Is it through the field alerts? Is it through realignment of your entire territory planning based on this? Is it through omnichannel? How you want to deploy your insights? The fourth piece is that once you deploy, you have to measure that, am I doing the right thing or not? Measure and improvise. And the final thing is that the change management, because it's a huge adoption and change management throughout the organization. We all are looking forward to AI to help us solving our problem, but the change management is a big thing. So we have to keep that in mind, that how we train our users, once they get an alert, a field person getting an alert, how do I interpret that alert and act on it? Those are the critical things to tie everything together from your problem statement to the delivery and acting on. So that's how I think is the journey should be laid out, and that's how we are trying to do.
That's great. I really appreciate that. One of the things I think might be interesting for the audience here is if you could weigh in on where are you achieving success along this journey. As you mentioned, it's going to be many years that we're trying to do this. And maybe more importantly, where are you struggling? Where are the challenges coming in? So maybe we'll go this direction this time.
Absolutely. The areas we are trying to achieve success is we are doing it for the commercial side of the world. So one of the areas where we are looking for success is the customer engagement. Based on these insights, am I getting more opportunity to interact with the right folks or not in the field? How field is interacting with the HCPs? Am I changing the level of interaction with the HCPs? Because every minute of interaction with the HCP counts. The second thing is the final, which we want to see is the inner axis. But it's, I always call it that measure it not by the touchdown, go by the yardage. So we have to put the parameters and pillars before we go to the inner axis and measure it accordingly. Now the challenges, definitely nothing is a smooth path. I think taking the entire organization together, because it's a cross-functional thing. It's not only data, not only analytics, not only the commercial business, not only brand. Taking everyone together in the journey and in the same pace, that's the biggest challenge for this journey. Educating people on the journey as we go, make people aware and make them part of this journey is the key challenge which we typically see.
Got it. And Scott, where are you succeeding? Where are you struggling? What are some?
Well, I think maybe it was last year, our chief commercial officer was very happy that commercial had the most usage of all the functions in GenMab. He was very proud of that, of ChatGPT or whatever, you know.
Of course, they have more people, but.
No, we had a rate, right? Like we did it the right way. Yeah, I think rather than functions though, it's two things. One, where middle managers, and maybe I'm speaking because I am one, right? Are crucial for the success here. If they feel like they have time in their day, like they have support, they know enough about the strategy and what's happening to actually say like this is an SOP or a business process that we can just transform and cut off half the time. And they can be the advocates of that if they feel empowered. And that brings me to my second point, which is senior leadership. The biggest success is when I can work directly with someone at the SVP or at the C-suite level, and they can translate that, what they've seen, what they've done maybe with Claude directly, Claude Cowork or Code directly to their folks. And so it doesn't feel like this has to be only ground up. And then we can, and there's an added bonus to that is that there's a lot of noise cutting when you're speaking to a senior audience. We know the 3 or 4 most important things that GenMab, and publicly we say this, the things that we focus on. So that instead of being mired in, how do we write our emails a little bit faster, or some of these maybe moderate value use cases, we can focus. And I think those have been the predictive factors of success. I think what hasn't translated very well is, I think we all, and it's been reported in surveys and we've measured in other ways, got time back from ChatGPT and Copilot and Claude and all these things. We all have time back, an hour a day or something. But how do we translate that to the balance sheet and productivity and to patients? That is not clear from an organizational perspective, unless you have a clear burning use case, a clear thing to change. Those efficiency gains are a challenge, and that's why part of our job is to work across with HR and leadership and say, do jobs look different? Do jobs look wider, broader? Does our consulting relationships change, right? Or do our SOWs go down? Like how do we actually translate that? That has been, I think, the real challenge and the real opportunity for the technology for us.
I'm just going off script for a minute. Just one thing you mentioned was having the senior leadership buy-in and
it's
help.
so crucial. Yeah.
Totally crucial. But is that coming from your CIO, from your business operations management? Like who are the
I think it
senior
can't
leaders?
come from a CIO only, because, and my boss is CIO, right? And I don't think it can, because we might naturally think that. We might naturally, it's like a new phone, or it's like crypto. Some of these things work out, some don't, right? But that's why I think like the folks, some of the most inspirational things are like someone in a biostatistician saying that they've done something that used to take a team of consultants and they did it in a couple of afternoons in their spare time. It's like, I didn't do that. A technologist didn't do that for them. They went in and did that themselves. That's just very inspiring. So I think it has to come from the function. It has to come from the leadership in the function, primarily.
Great, love it. Arindam, talk to me about governance. We all hear how critical governance is to the scaling, but even the starting of AI programs. How are you tackling that? How is governance unfolding at Ipsen?
That's a great question, John, which you asked. I'm glad that you asked because now in the era of AI, what we are saying that we are democratizing data, we are democratizing insights, but democracy does not mean anarchy. So we need to tighten it somewhere to make the data the right insights, and the insights are used in the right fashion. So therein the governance comes into the picture. On the other side, that the governance should not be so stringent that it stifles the innovation. So we need to keep a balance on that. So what we have done in Ipsen, and I've laid down a framework called Adaptive Data Governance Framework. What that means is that it's not one size fits all for all the functions. So some of the functions where we can give some lineage, we are making the governance a little tighter versus the other areas. For example, if it is HCP interactions, I think the governance need to be tightened.
Of course.
So a sales rep cannot go and talk anything based on the insights they're given. So the governance there is very high. Versus when we generate any analytical model and insights for our back-end analysis, the government is not as much required as in the field force governance. So that's the adaptive data governance model which I have laid down. It's a pyramid structure where everyone has a role to play, and that's working fine as of now.
Great. Scott, governance at GenMab.
Yeah, and I think the instinct is often to shut down, analyze, understand, and it doesn't work. Doesn't work at all. Because smart, motivated employees will find a way to use ChatGPT or whatever they want to use, and they'll make it happen. So it's actually a risk to go and say, you can't do this. So we have decided at GenMab, we've decided to co-locate AI. We've named AI governance, and we've named a committee for AI governance of digital and AI risks that includes stakeholders from data governance, legal, security, privacy, you name it. We're all there. But we've decided to co-locate AI governance with the AI skills building, which was a little bit maybe controversial at first to say, aren't these the opposite of each other? Like the people who want to, but I don't think it should be. I think the AI governance, I think we have historical precedent for data governance frameworks and tooling even in that space. AI governance is evolving, and it maybe needs an experimental approach because prompt injections are not a solved problem. That's not a solved problem. The emerging laws in Europe are not a solved problem. Right. There's not a software that I can go and do that. So we actually need the AI experts actually to inform the governance themselves and what is this capability actually doing in a GXP sense? What are we actually qualifying? Is it a model or is it a system, an intelligent system? There's very different implications for how hard that is in either of those two scenarios. So I think it's such a dynamic thing that there's not a solution. There's frameworks we can put in place. We mitigate risk. We train. We enable as even a principle to mitigate risk and put the guardrails around the enablement so that there's clear path for understanding the risk. So, a lot of words to say. It's evolving.
Great, appreciate that. One of the things we heard a lot about this morning, and we're certainly spending a lot of time in our labs, is trying to create reproducibility. As we know, we're in a heavily regulated industry. Many times you have to show your work, and that work has to be repeatable for regulators and other stakeholders. At the same time, there's a need for exploratory analytics, which LLMs are great at, and our Marmot is really good at as well. I'd love to get your thoughts on reproducibility. Is that important to you in your AI programs? Is it something that you're gaining? Is it something that's really elusive? So maybe we'll start with you, Arindam.
Yeah, no, definitely. Any AI work is a huge investment. So once we do the investment, obviously the organization would like to see that how we reproduce that in scale. so that we can gain out of the initial investment. So what I call is, in our case, is the pilot to the scalability phase. So right now we are in the pilot phase to the scalability phase. But while doing the scalability, I think most of the time the companies fumble there, and I call it as, there's a very famous book which I read like 20 years back. It's not a new book on AI, Crossing the Chasm.
Oh, Jeffrey Moore, yeah.
Jeffrey
yeah,
Moore.
yeah.
It's nothing related to AI. It was written probably 20 years back.
The quality chasm, is that the one? Or, oh, sorry.
Yeah. But if I correlate that now, that book is more for the entrepreneurs who are building their first product, how they scale it to the market. The same thing happens in the AI. AI also, we are piloting some new concepts, but we want to scale it across the organization. We want to scale it across the business units. We want to scale it across the other functions within the organization. But how we do it, how we cross that chasm, that's the biggest thing. What I say that, identify the problem. You solve a problem, identify the next problem which is related to this, and then translate or extrapolate this solution into the new area. So that's one way of doing it. Is that the only way of doing it? Probably not. There will be many ways. But I call it as crossing the chasm is the thing which we need to keep in mind and carefully articulate our vision when we lay down the AI roadmap, that what is the next step, how we scale, what are the next areas we want to invest and scale AI. That's how we are planning from there.
Okay, wonderful. Reproducibility?
Yeah, I mean, it's not, at least out of the box, right? It's not reproducible. And it throws the IT models, SDLC, into question, because production is a sacrosanct concept, right? And being able to standardize and do the testing that you need to. How do you test something that could like plausibly go off and answer some really unrelated question? Like it's hard. So I think reproducibility, I think about it in a bunch of ways. It depends on the use case. In managing clinical trial data, that has to be very reproducible.
Exactly.
And so that might require a level of auditability and governance that is beyond maybe some of the use cases in commercial, which do require reproducibility, but maybe not the same level of screenshotting and documentation of literally everything. So first tiering it, and then understanding the technology is not used to just solve problems. It's also used to build systems that solve problems. I think of Replit or Claude Code. So when I go and I ask a Claude Code to work with me on a complex problem, I don't end it with that. That's not the product. The prompts is not the product. The product is a bunch of skills we've learned along the way, a bunch of code we've got along the way, but that is reproducible, right? Code is by definition, we can manage that in an IT sense, right? We can manage the code that is produced, even if we worry about the scale of code and the vulnerabilities introduced in AI-generated code. We have frameworks for that. Good. So we can not just use AI to solve the problem, but to create systems that solve the problem for us, but create them way faster than we used to either create internally with software developers or go to the market with an RFP and buy, taking 6 months to go and buy a SaaS solution. In some cases, that may not be needed anymore because you can just create reproducible code with a Replit, and it's like very powerful. If you've never tried that, I recommend it. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, I think that's how I recover reproducibility in a lot of cases, is to use the AI to advise on how to create a system, a new process that is reproducible.
Great. We'll go to you first on this one, Scott. I think
Sure.
We've all been talking about different use cases that are done by different business functions, and they have different needs, requirements, constraints, and opportunities. Which of the business units that you're working with have been your early adopters, the ones that are willing to take risks and move forward with scaling their AI solutions, and which have been laggards? And what are some characteristics of where our audience might find opportunities with innovators that want to be on the front end, and where they might want to slow things down for the laggards?
Yeah, I don't necessarily see a pattern in the functions. Maybe some but other characteristics like I mentioned before of sometimes the success is really driven by this middle management layer, and like they've been inspired and they know enough about the business strategy and the operations at the same time to truly change something that matters, right? Change something that matters. So what I get at is where people feel empowered. I've actually seen maybe enabling functions and even IT as maybe a little bit of a laggard overall. Software developers as a laggard. You know, my people. So maybe it's a little counterintuitive. I think some of the areas in commercial market access actually, I think, has been surprised us. U.S. market access, at least, they've been very excited on their ChatGPT journey. But yeah, there's like a segment of the population that in your organizations that feel in their bones that this is different, this is change, and that things are going to be very different in the next 5-10 years. And maybe you believe that, maybe you don't. I think there's good points on both sides. But those are the people. You got to find those people, and if you believe in it, empower them to be the bleeding edge. And then there's those people that can convince. And then there's a long tail afterwards, right? Like in any marketing activity, that's true, right? You have your early adopters and your tail. So it's trying to find, like, can you identify those people, those champions?
And Arindam, as you're crossing the chasm, who's coming on the chasm? Who's in the early adopters for you, and who are some of the laggards that you're trying to move forward?
You know, John, this is a very tricky question. That who are the laggards in the organization? I'll answer it.
By the way, these are just the opinions of two people.
It just
They're not speaking for their companies.
Yeah, I'll pivot the answer a little bit differently. It's not the business functions who are adapting. How I think it is that what is the problem we're solving for whom? So the classic example in Ipsen, we chose a problem which is the patient's problem. Now, for solving the patient problem, it's not only one function of the organization has to take care of it, it's cross-functional.
Yep.
Someone is taking a charge. I'm taking a charge from the data side and insight side, data strategy side. But I have the other groups also equally partner with me in this journey. For example, IT, definitely. For example, brand, because brand has to buy in there, because at the end of the day, they're the functions who will get benefited max out of it. Yep. Patient services is another group. So I'm taking everyone as part of the journey. So I wouldn't say that it's AI, again, it's a shiny object, but everyone is excited. But taking everyone together in the right fashion, right momentum towards the exact one goal for the company is the critical point of success.
Got it. I'm going to ask one more question, and then we're going to open it up to you all. So if you're thinking about a question, you want to write it down and get prepared, just raise your hand after we answer this next question, and Rich Walter will find you with a mic. He's going to play Phil Donahue or Jerry Springer, no fighting, and we'll get your questions answered. The last question is a simple one, but complex in its essence. What is the one piece of advice that you could give to everybody here that would help them, that improve their ability to scale their AI program? What one nugget is most important?
I would say that 3 years back, when I was sitting in a conference of a pharma conference and all the pharma leaders, we said that AI probably will take not a very strong step immediately. But today, when I go to any pharma conference, everyone is doing AI. So AI is now part of our, I would say, the veins. It's flowing through us. But I would say the one piece of advice is just don't embark on a particular AI project or a particular AI journey for the sake of doing it. Take a problem statement, try to solve a problem which AI can solve, data can solve. I think that's the advice which I would say to be successful in the AI journey. Got it. Scott?
I might say two things. I'm sorry. The point I've been trying to convey is that I think this is not a technical change. This is an organizational change. And that's why IT can't be in the lead. Business, HR, other folks, like everybody is learning. IT is learning. We're learning what we can do. So it takes everybody up and down in order to truly do this and not have it be just pet projects, or not have it be, a couple of people in like an innovation function somewhere who know it but can't translate that to success. And then I forgot my other point. So
That's okay. One quota was
that's
one.
good. No, I got it. That some of the mistakes I see is to only focus on efficiency and to cut costs and I think that's absolutely fair game, and we got to do that relentlessly. But I think some of the more innovative enterprises just across industries are thinking about it as strategy, and having it be in the boardroom, having it be in the C-suite, like thinking about like what new markets do you go to, what new what's your product strategy, and down the line to R&D, right? And to use it as a strategic enabler, and if you can say what those strategies are, then let's ask Claude how it itself can help with those strategy things, and not just be rigorous on the efficiency, but we should still do that.